Hi everyone and welcome to the May 2022 Comprehensive Astrology video. This is Sky coming on to talk to you about the month of May. I am moving at a pretty quick pace today because there is a lot coming up right now. I'm sure that you're all also feeling this oncoming Jupiter and Aries energy kind of preparing us to be able to step into our energy and not lag so much. So there is a lot to talk about for today's video. I've been meditating for about 30 minutes now and also reviewing the charts for the month of May, which I will be putting up momentarily. I will be talking you through the beginning and the end of the month and talking about some of the individual transits that will be happening throughout the month. And I was not expecting before I was looking at the charts for so much to be happening, but there is a huge amount of transits this month, big deals, actually perhaps more so even in the month of April. And April 2022 was already quite full of majorly impactful transits. So I'm going to just talk intuitively about the month of May, and then I'll go into some of these individual transits. So after looking at everything, I'm left with the impression that we have to allow ourselves to understand how things change and how we update as people, okay? This month is going to really dismantle any type of stagnation, and it's going to give you the free and open space to make your own way into what you need. So we have Jupiter changing signs from Pisces into Aries, and that's going to be a major wake-up call for a lot of people about the status of their lives, about the need to lighten their load, about the need to take the pressure off of themselves mentally, emotionally, psychologically. It's going to be really tough by the end of the month to still be obsessed with someone from your past, to still be brokenhearted, to still be trying to work through some type of long-running trauma. All of the work that we've been doing this entire year and a lot of 2021, trying to kind of lighten up our feeling of heaviness, getting some of the excess weight off, getting some of the overworking, overdone, over-laborious, hyper-laborious energy away, really climaxes here, okay? So we have Jupiter that will be moving into Aries on May 18th, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a separate video later this month because it warrants and merits a video of its own. But, we are going to start to feel a lot more lucky, well, and abundant if we can allow ourselves just to put one foot in front of the other, just to move on to what we actually want. So what I have written down intuitively here is that contrast is going to be at a high in May. Okay, so it's very likely to be committed or devoted to something, yet wanting something quite parallel or juxtaposed to that situation. And this is something that we all have to, I think, make our own notes about here this month, because one solution is not going to be right for everybody. So I just want to really prepare you all that in the month of May, you're going to see what you love about your current experience and perhaps what you really dislike about it or what you can't handle about it. And we really have to collect this data. And April of 2022 was a really wonderful month for collecting data, measuring how we feel about our experience. And we have to be willing to mess up sometimes too. Okay, we're going to be learning a lot about that this summer with Jupiter and Aries, that, if we're striving for perfection, if we're demanding a flawless, perfect, and totally, inhumane experience, we're not going to get anywhere. We're not going to make any progress. We're going to stagnate. So we have to sometimes be willing to mess up. We have to be willing to acknowledge that we messed it up. We have to be willing to say, you know what? Yeah, I'm human and I haven't made every decision perfectly. And instead of trying to make something that's not right for me work and trying to force perfection out of something that is not right, get blood from the turnip, maybe it's really about acknowledging that some things aren't right and I've got to move on and do what my calling is now. There's kind of this throwing of the hands up that I feel for a lot of people in the month of May, especially towards the end of the month, where they're like, I just have to do what matters to me now, and I have to do what my calling is, even if I can't do that perfectly. So there's a majorly new relationship with perfectionism coming up this month. And there's also a there's kind of a pulling out for some people. I see some people selling off investments. I see some people selling the house that they live in, or I see other people pulling out of societies, pulling out of group memberships or something that they used to be a part of, and just saying, it's not for me anymore. And again, we have this kind of inner war. A lot of people are in a state of interior war. That's why we're also seeing war channel globally and collectively as well, because they're like, gosh, I just want consistency. Gosh, I just want to say, you know what, I've been a member of this for 10 years, or I've been in this career now for 15 years, and now I have authority because of all the effort that I put in. But at the same time, I can't stand it, but I want that feeling of authority. But also I want something totally new. This is getting painful for a lot of people at this point in time. There's a very severe, push toward and pull against happening internally for so many people. And I really think that the month of May, with these being that we're in eclipse season, being that we have so many huge transits, it's going to push it one way or the other. So there's either going to be like, okay, I know that I'm going to commit to something that I love, or I know that I'm going to pull out of something I don't love. And I really think that over these oncoming months of June, July, and August, we will finally be able to have decisions made, or certainties come through. Another intuitive message that I have written down is the gauntlet winds down. So there's a winding down of a previous hyper labor energy line that was in effect from the end of 2020 until now, basically, where a lot of people were pushed or pushing themselves too far, trying to be too many people, trying to do the work of more people than themselves, and that's going to start to wind down with these eclipses. So the solar eclipse of April 30th, the lunar eclipse of May 16th, these are going to catalyze a wind down from a hyper action, hyper energy perspective. And it's really good to meet that halfway this month, okay? Especially, again, it's the month is advancing. And really by the time of this lunar eclipse happening on May 16th, which I will also make a video about, when the time comes, that is good to be complete or good to be done. And right as I'm telling you that, there is a plane flying over my home, and it actually is like one of those planes that has some type of lettering behind it, or it's flying some type of, I don't even know what you call those things, but it has some kind of attached message behind it for some type of ceremonial or parade type of thing. I couldn't see what it read, but I will take that as a symbolism that, in quite a pageantry focused way, in quite an obvious way, we're going to be called to wind down a certain way that we've been expressing energetically. Because what's going to happen is this summer, Northern Hemisphere, these next oncoming months, when we have Jupiter in Aries, it's not going to feel good to be Atlas, to be carrying the world on your shoulders, because that's a very Jupiter and Pisces situation to be in. So what we see always in this 12-year cycle when Jupiter moves from Pisces to Aries is a breaking up of weight, or a breaking up or fragmentation of what people carry, basically a decentralizing or a reprioritization, a calibrating of a certain hierarchy of priorities. So that's going to be really rewarding to start to know is winding down this month, and I feel that most people's lives are mirroring it. So you might be having a natural ending phase. It's kind of like the World card in tarot. You might be having a natural wind down, a natural respite, a natural summer break for those of you who are like in school or college or teach or anything. It's a very nice time for you, as your natural year might see you kind of either graduating or ending your term right now. That's really wonderful. And if you're not in any of those types of situations, how can you kind of mirror that? How can you have a bit of a winding down and a bit of a easing happen here? That will be really, really helpful. The gauntlet needs to wind down this month for most people. Also, it's really likely that by the time we hit Gemini season, around May 21st, that there will be a totally different way of perceiving your future, of perceiving your motivations or why you are on your current path, and it needs to really start to lighten down. So for those of you with a heavy heart, coming out of April, it's super possible. We need to really see a focused sort of hierarchical understanding of how we get this sorted, or how we step into a more light, more free, more easygoing experience of life, because the universe is really setting us up for a lighthearted, beautiful, preparational summer months, okay, here in the Northern Hemisphere, winter months in the Southern Hemisphere. These are going to really prepare us to do the thing that matters in 2023 or 2024. And if we can't get it lighter now, it's going to create delays, or it's going to create confusion when we really need to step up later. So I don't want to make you guys feel like pressurized. I don't want you guys to feel like, oh my gosh, I've got to figure out how to make my life better really fast here, although that could be the case. But it never really works like that, does it? Like, we can't ever really go from feeling like really upset about where we are to just like suddenly making it perfect. Like, the energy doesn't work that way. There has to be a kind of incremental healing process. So that might be a great way to do this, some of this stuff too. Like, slowly, day by day, I'm building a very strong foundation of health, wealth, and well-being. And through that slow daily building, I'm guaranteeing myself a certain lightness in the long run through sober decision making. And there's also a possibility, random download that just came through, of like a splinter in the aura for some people. And they're already healing this. This is already better. If you've made it to May 2022, just by like manifesting during this period of time, it's already better than it was, say, in like February 2020 or even like May 2021. This May 2022 period is showing you healing energetic splinters, or healing from that. And I do plan to make a video either this month or in June about healing the aura, about healing the third eye, because it's something that we've been talking about, and really overcoming these feelings of auric splinter or auric disenfranchisement or fragmentation in some way, as that is a very strong collective issue right now. And the month of May is going to, for some people, pull out the splinters, okay? It's going to show us how as well, or it's going to show us what the splinter is, or it's going to have us experiencing what life is like without the splinter, okay? So this is meaningful, poignant opportunities here in the month of May, and it's not going to settle for more splintered activity, or for more throwing our hands up, not being able to understand how we get ourselves out of a certain difficulty, okay? Because that becomes indulgent at a certain point in time, or that becomes its own cycle, and it's not even about the problem anymore. It's about like seeing that we're there, or seeing that we're in that problematic place, and the way that we cope feels more loving sometimes in that place than in a healthy place. So we have to really get past the experiences that we feel are problematic, and understand how we are reinforcing that at this point in time. So our own reinforcement structures, or our own tendency to stay stale or stagnant in a problematic experience, is something that is put front and center this month, and given all the necessary tools and people, manifestations to get to a better place. So it's important stuff happening this month, but likely to be very much lighter by the end of the month, if you want that, if you would like a lighter experience. Let's talk briefly about some of these individual transits that are coming up. Okay, so we start the month with Pluto Retrograde in Capricorn, April 30th, I believe, or 29th, it went retrograde at 28 degrees of Capricorn. There's a lot of late 20 numbers there. My brain can't remember. But yes, Pluto is retrograde in Capricorn at 28 degrees, right on the Pluto return point for the United States. So if you're in the United States, it could be a lot of heaviness. Okay, it could be a lot of, for more than just the United States, because it's so, prolific across the world. To me, what I've been feeling about this Pluto retrograde video, if I get a chance to make that video separately, I'll mention this again. But to me, it's not about transformations. This Pluto retrograde in Capricorn, it will, for some people, bring that. It's not so much a question of what you want to change. It's really a question of what you want to keep, okay? this Pluto retrograde in Capricorn. That's a big, important thing to know, and something to take from this video is like this period of time in May 2022, and for the duration of that Pluto retrograde, is not going to be about what we change. It's going to be about what we keep. Okay, what are we keeping? What are we holding on to? What are we treasuring? What are we evaluating as worthy of holding on to? All right, because I think a lot of us are clogged up with what we're holding, and there's a big question about, is this what we want to carry on our back? Is this what we want to have? Okay, that's what this entire Pluto retrograde is going to be about. It's going to be powerfully demonstrating the value of what we are carrying, what we do actually have, the real stuff, the real value of the dollars in the account, the real value of the assets that you have, the real value of the career that you've chosen, the location that you're living. All of these material things are going to be on the mind, and we're going to be asked, is this what you want? Okay, is this what you want? Okay, we also have Mars in Pisces, which I find to be a debilitated point for Mars. So there is also a kind of harsh psychic energy here. You might have to face some like disturbing facts. You might learn of something that was like difficult. Some of you might be doing work or working with an organization or having to make progress on something that is harsh or indicative of some type of like suffering or indicative of pain or difficulty in some way. So some of you might be working with like nonprofits that deal with addiction, or some of you might be working also with like religious organizations or some type of organization that is facing trauma or facing war or difficulty in that way. There might be very painful imagery coming out this month. So it's important to prepare ourselves for that. And of course, it's more extreme, right? Because we have the Mars-Neptune conjunction on May 17th, all right? We have an exact conjunction of Neptune and Mars in Pisces. So that is kind of like the energy of psychic overwhelm. That is the energy of weird dreams as well, or even nightmares for some people. So it's possible to have strange dreams during this time. It's possible to have weird sleep cycle experiences. And I will say that whenever you have Mars-Neptune conjunction, regardless of what sign it's in, it's always a time for people who struggle with any type of emotional pain, or for people who struggle with any type of mental difficulties, okay? Those can always be accentuated. So it's kind of like a trigger warning. I always say with Mars-Neptune conjunct, there's whatever you're going through, it's going to have a trigger warning. Know your triggers, know your vulnerabilities, because May 18th, and there's also a lunar eclipse happening at that same time, a debilitated lunar eclipse, moon in Scorpio. Any of our vulnerable points, any of our auric wounds, any of our painful points, soft points, points that are beneath the armor, beneath the walls inside us, are going to be seen under a microscope, likely just by ourselves, but it's like we won't be able to ignore if we have something off in our experience, okay? And we need to be really practicing any type of practice that reinforces our mental health. Okay, so certainly I can't advise on that here in my capacity on this channel, but it is a good time, I think, for some people to have traditional therapy, traditional psychological or psychiatric assistance. Okay, certainly go to professionals who can actually advise on those types of things. But as an astrologer, as someone who practices, more of a holistic lifestyle, I can say that simplification, openness, and any type of prayer that reinforces white light, healing strategies. The color blue, okay, has actually really been helpful to me lately. The color of silver, okay, the color of yellow even. It's wonderful to be in these lighter colors just because the energy is very, very dark here, okay, during that Mars-Neptune conjunction in Pisces with a lunar eclipse in Scorpio. Of course, with the nodes being in Taurus and Scorpio, the nodes define what signs eclipses happen during that year. So it's was a solar eclipse in Taurus, right, and a lunar eclipse in Scorpio. You know, Pluto retrograde in Capricorn, Mercury retrograde also coming at the end of the month. There's also going to be a Venus-Chiron conjunction as well. We have the most open access to shadow work here, the most open access to understand what's off, what's wrong, what did we not understand, how did we trick ourselves up a little bit. And we need to really protect ourselves when we do this work. It's a very pristine environment for psychic attack as well, okay? And I will also say that you're totally invulnerable and not even possible to be psychically attacked if your vibration is healthy. All right, so somebody with a healthy vibration cannot be psychically attacked, or psychic attacks are not possible on somebody or to have any negative effect on them if their energy or vibration is at a certain healthy point. So don't any of you feel afraid that I've said this, like, oh no, you know, psychic attack is possible here. But yes, if we're at a very low state, if we're in a very unhealthy place, if we're not respecting our body, not respecting ourselves, you know, we can definitely be putting ourselves into a vibration where that's more possible. And I want you guys for the entire month of May, if you can, to be reinforcing your light energy and to be doing anything that you know helps you vibrate at a healthier place. So for some of you, it's music. For some of you, it's comedy videos. Laughter is a great way to raise the vibration. For some of you, it's exercise. For me, I love to run myself. So some people in the month of May will be shown who they really are, okay? Some of us, through facing a difficult experience or through winding down from a previous gauntlet or series of difficult events, will see what we're made of, and we'll see how strong we are, and that's going to be cause for celebration, okay? But yes, with the Mars-Neptune conjunction, it's possible that we are bursting our own bubbles or popping our own illusions. So Mars is like a needle and Neptune is like a bubble. So a bubble can pop in the month of May. So yes, there could be like a stock market crash. There could be the bursting of some type of economic bubble as well. That could definitely happen. Also with this eclipse happening, and with the Taurus archetype, the Sun, Uranus, and North Node, and Mercury retrograde preparing to move back into Taurus as well. Incredible chance to see some type of inflationary issue as well, or some type of global supply chain like climax point of difficulty here. And also it's really likely to see through illusions as well with Mars-Neptune conjunct in Pisces. But it's also like there's so many of them, or there's so many illusions, or there's so many fictitious experiences that it's like the symbol that I'm getting is almost like being in a room full of like hundreds of balloons and like having the needle just like pop, pop, pop. It's like they're all like popping, you know? That's kind of the psychic image I get with this Mars-Neptune conjunct in Pisces. And it reminds me of what I was talking about in the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction video about people who are like making platforms off of like bringing other people down. There could be people who are like, this could go into the negative as well, where you've got like all these beautiful balloons and someone's going in and just popping them all, like really raining on other people's parades, or really enjoying to like, you know, create a scene or to create a certain, I don't know, I really don't respect it. Like there's a kind of problem here, but also, you know, it's good to pop certain bubbles, I suppose, that are, I don't know, creating a certain negative loop for other people. But also there's a certain point in time where, you know, maybe some of us wanted those balloons, or some of us enjoyed them like floating around, and now they're gone. So it was sometimes life in a completely real or non-fictitious state to some people is bland or unenthusiastic or non-romanticized. And I will say with these transits, a completely unromanticized experience, like an experience devoid of any type of self-narrative generation, or devoid of any type of luster, would also be unfortunate right now. So it is about balance indeed. We also have a Venus-Chiron conjunction on May 15th, okay? Happening in the sign of Aries. Venus-Chiron conjunction. Yeah, so romanticization of difficulty is widespread. It's likely for some people to start relationships with a powerful person. Okay, if you're dating, you could meet somebody who's like very high in rank, and this could be sort of like a 50 Shades of Grey experience or something. That's often what I think of when I see Venus-Pluto or Venus-Chiron conjunctions. And then for others of you, this can be like really being able to speak about difficult events or being able to speak about harshness. It's like Chiron, the wounded healer, meets Venus, the planet of relationships, beauty, and expression. Okay, so there's also on the other side of this, an unhealthy romanticization for some people happening now, like the romanticizing of something that's too difficult or too dark or too overwhelming. And then also for some people, this can be like sugar addictions or any type of addiction to indulgent materials or experiences. So earlier in the month, before this, like right at the beginning, we did have also a Jupiter-Venus conjunction in Pisces, which is so beautiful and so incredible. So that could have led some people to become too indulgent or too spendthrift. And it's really important to think about, like, what do I want in the long run? Sometimes Jupiter-Venus conjunctions can like borrow from the future in order to have the now. But it's a very, very nice energy that we have with Jupiter and Venus. So it's lucky. Like there's a luck within all of these experiences that we're having in the month of May nonetheless. Finally, I'm going to talk a little bit about Mercury Retrograde that happens on May 11th. All right. Yes, we have Mercury moving retrograde in Gemini and moving back into Taurus, moving towards the Sun, Uranus, North Node. And yes, many of our communication styles are going to change, and we're going to start to communicate our wants differently, or we're going to communicate to other people, perhaps some of our focuses for the future, and really pay attention, okay, with that, the responses you get from other people. Like you could really easily see that people respond in a sensible way with this Mercury retrograde in Gemini. I think that it's really valuable to get insights from other people, not so much to affect your decision making about what you're going to do, but more so just to see how other people's energies are aligning with your wants and your dreams. Because it will help you understand who is around you and the nature of the relationships around you, which will be nice because some of us don't know it, but we're around people who don't support our dreams, or some of us don't know it, but actually everybody around us supports our dreams. And we might have a very different route to like funding our dreams, or a very different route to just being supported by other people, and we don't even know it. So it's a good time to take stock of communication and of the people around you and like how they're supporting you, or how they're how else you could do it. I just, there's so many transits happening in the sky this month. And as I'm kind of like winding up, knowing that we're having Mercury retrograde, knowing that we're having a Jupiter-Mars conjunction in Aries on May 29th, Jupiter changing sign May 18th, Mercury retrograde May 11th, Venus-Chiron conjunction May 15th, Mars-Neptune conjunction May 17th, a lunar eclipse, Mars in Pisces, Pluto retrograde, Jupiter-Venus conjunction in Pisces. We can go through all that individually, but all of that coming together says to me like there are maybe alternative ways to having our dreams come true. It's an important time to really assess what we're keeping, to really take stock and to think about, does this make sense with like 2022? And like by 2024, does this still make sense? I think a lot of us, what I'm seeing from the combination of all of these transits, a lot of us are like manifesting so many catalyst points for ourselves, but we're not maybe allowing ourselves the actual needy change. I'm almost feeling like all of these super, super catalyst, like pointy energies that are here this month, amidst so much kind of like soft, fragile, like romantic energy at the same time. I'm wondering why we need to experience that, because for some people it's quite harsh, and then for other people it's just a mechanism to free up space in their life and pop a lot of their own swollen energy lines. So it's a major recalibration point. It's a major opportunity to see alternatives, and it's going to request, I think, a pretty long period of time over the next 3 or 4 months. And if you're someone who has like a lot of free time over the summer or over the oncoming months, you need to really soberly take stock of like where you're at, and is it real? Is it material? What is it really? And how can you actually have what you want? Because the main crux of these transits is not creating a lot of things that pull us away from what we want, but making sure that they contribute to that path, and making sure that those paths are harmonious, and making sure that we're communicating our wants with other people, and that we understand the nature of the relationships that we're in, and that we're not living in like a fairy tale world, but at the same time, we're not depriving ourselves of our own story. You know, it is a month of contrast that really gets those of us who want answers, or want better lives, or want more safety, okay? Whatever it is that you have wanted will basically be very much shown to you through these energies. Through all of this contrast, we find truth, right? Or we have the opportunity, certainly, to understand what it is that we actually want beneath it all. So that, I have to say, for some people, it's going to be some weird kind of experiences this month, but it's for a purpose, and it's for you, okay? And if you're already letting yourself see that truth, so if you're coming out of the month of April already having done a lot of work there about like knowing what your wants are, what you're actualizing towards, stuff like that, it's just basically going to free up space for you to move more towards that. So that's a congratulations for those people. But for those of us who don't have any free space in our lives, or any sense of wellness, because we've overdone it, overbooked, over obligated ourselves, it could remove a lot of that stuff, or it could question some of that stuff in a way that you now have a chance to know what matters in your experience, and not conflate that with like other people's experiences, or not conflate that with like what the ego is so hungry for. I mean, it just looks like a beautiful, beautiful month for looking at a vista, okay? So sightseeing, going to like a scenic overlook, for example, wondering upon if you like hike or something. What a wonderful month for hiking. What a wonderful month for big open overlooking spaces, because that will somehow help the psyche to understand the more macrocosmic view that it is craving. It's not craving a super micro experience, all right now, though by the summer months it will become slightly more micro. It's a very important time for seeing the big picture, for seeing the larger result of what you're creating or what you're doing, and comparing that to what you want as a person, because we have a chance here as Jupiter moves through Aries to really step into a more, to step in as like an agent of our own process of actualization. And we need to really be able to see the macro result of our actions beyond just that of like, for example, the paycheck or the day-to-day experience. You know, we really need to see the big picture here. So yes, anything that reinforces that at a level of action. So flying, okay, in airplanes, seeing the big picture beneath you, hiking to higher points, going up in tall buildings, I don't know. Whatever you see as an experiential metaphor for seeing the bigger picture or zooming out would be recommendable now, because I've actually seen in my own experience that sometimes I get a lot of like understanding of things, or better understanding of like myself through being able to look at really zoomed out things, or being able to see how things are functioning at from a very distanced or pulled out perspective. So I think that's recommendable for everyone. So I hope you all get that chance, and certainly not a month to fear. We've had like way worse or more difficult months than this, but it really changes the tone, and it really asks us very poignant questions. So let's really make some sober space to have those questions asked, and really prepare ourselves to answer them, okay? Because coming out of the month of May with some amount of answer about what you want in the future, or how you're building over the long run, will prepare you to easily walk through the oncoming year. So happy May, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the video. Lots of stuff to parse through here, but keep tuned to my channel as I will be talking more specifically about some of these transits over this oncoming month. Be sure to hit the subscribe button below and turn on those bell notifications. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and thank you for bearing with me through the end. It is kind of a lot of different energies to work with here. So yes, this channel is on Patreon if you wanted to support it. I will link that below, and I will link below some of the other videos that have been popular lately if you've been curious to see some other content. So check out the description box and let me know if the video resonated with a comment below. Have a great month. Bye.